said there is Osman. And then even if I take him back. All right, all right. We are live. We are live. So people, we are live. If you're watching us from any of our platforms, make sure you are sharing this conversation and inviting each and everyone that we are live right now. So we want to say happy liberation, happy unification day to all and each and everyone that will be joining us here.
You are watching the Pan African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tatah. The Africa we want: unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherland's calling its diaspora home. Join my voice. Join my team. Join my campaign. Campaign 21 hashtag 1 million subscribers on the Pan African Daily TV YouTube. Be a volunteer. Apply now. Be the new Africa.
So wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people. As you can see, the studio is already set and ready. And I want to say happy Liberation Day, happy Africa Day, happy Unification Day, happy One Africa Day, happy everything. So tonight, I want to specially welcome you on the Pan African Daily TV. It's a day of celebration. It's a day where we want to commemorate, just like every other day. I mean, we see days that have nothing to do with Africa, how Africans will celebrate these vacations like. But the new spirit of Africa is calling all of us now to start celebrating the African Day worldwide. And so we on the Pan African Daily is very, very happy to kick off this Africa Day. And we in Germany, we're even going to stretch it to 1 week because exactly today we are starting the Germany Pan African Expo and Festival. So for us, it's a whole, we're starting the celebration to continue forever and ever. So before I start bringing in our guests, I really just want to share this moment that we know that a big sister, what everyone is calling the Queen of Africa, just fell, transited yesterday. Queen Diva Tina Turner, who passed on yesterday at the age of 83. And I mean, we are celebrating. As you can see, she just joined our ancestors to be able to celebrate because she has done everything that she had to do here before she transited. So, regardless, we are sharing our condolences to the family and African family worldwide for this big transition as we would celebrate further. So, I don't want to waste our time because today we have a lot to talk about. We have the young people here. We want to listen to them. Not, when we say young people, it's not like, they're still growing up. I mean, you will not believe the young leaders are responsible leaders now. They are parents as well. And so they can talk about everything, even what family looks like, what the future of the African family should look like. And those that are still single also would express the journey that they're going through. And then we have a special princess here with us, Queen Princess Nongo from South Africa. And so we have a couple of youths that will be coming up and also the diasporas that will be joining us. So in the meantime, we'll be taking one after the other so we can share what is the future that these young people or these young leaders, young executives are looking at when they see the world today. That is going to be the question for today. And you can also chat in the chat. You can share your wishes for this Africa Liberation Day or Africa Unification Day. It is a wonderful thing to just be here. Happy day to all of us. Happy day at last. So I'm taking on the screen our gentleman, a young executive. I mean, we can still call him a young executive, even though he's a very responsible man, a family man now. Our brother, the champion of Gambia and Africa youth, brother Usman Toure, Mr. Brother Usman Toure. Um, It's been a while. I mean, he has a lot of things. If we have to focus only on his achievements, I think it will take us so much time. So I want to welcome here, brother. It's been a long time. We have followed your journey. First of all, congratulations, for taking the queen crown. And we can see even from your physical that this time you don't have to struggle to warm some kind of food and eat. Now you see, when we look at you, we see a full-fledged man that food is served on the table, and water is brought, and the king is putting up that future from your jaws, from your smile, from even the way you're burning. I'm telling you, this is very, very necessary for us to say it. So welcome, my brother. How are you doing?
Thank you so much, Dr. Susan. It's been a while, and I've been looking forward to engaging with the community that we have here, our family, the Pan African Daily TV audience. It is also indeed that we joined you in different capacity this time, as you highlighted. And I thank you all for giving me the opportunity. And once again, congratulations. We've been following and we've seen the incredible progress of the Pan African Daily TV. And I'm equally using this opportunity to call on our brothers, whether in the continent or in the diaspora, with the muscles to join you on the festival in Germany, because it is an incredible initiative and I wish you well. And I would also like to see our brothers and sisters joining you in that incredible journey in Germany. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much. Yes, the journey has just opened with the celebration of the African Liberation Day today, or the African Unification Day, and we're going to be continuing to celebrating it, until 10 days of celebrations. So we thank you so very much. So today is a very special day in the lives of Africans worldwide. This is the moment where, if we roll the carpet back some 60 years ago, or more than 60 years ago, our leaders, our founders, our parents thought, oh, we've been beaten and torn apart. It is time for us to build ourselves again into a union that would never be broken, that will be stronger than any other union. And since that creation, we have seen other baby unions come up, like the European unions, or the other unions have learn from that. What does this day actually for you? What does it signify for you when we talk about the Africa Unification Day or the Africa Day?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Susan, for that brilliant question. Now, one of the things that we must do is to reflect on a day like today. And that is 60 years ago. What was the ambition? What was the ideas? What was the sentiments? And what were the angers, the grievances of Africans that championed the coming together of a continent that has been divided, that has been marginalized, a continent that has been dehumanized for hundreds of years, to come together and set a blueprint for the future of the people of that continent and for that continent's liberation, both politically, economically, and socially. Africans being able to have an identity and being able to call somewhere, someplace as their home, but to equally contribute immensely towards the development of that particular continent. Now, there has been some incredible progress from that date to now. Some challenges in the continent have been achieved. By that, I mean some solutions have been brought, some initiatives have been developed, some leaders have put in their time, their energy. And on a day like today, we must celebrate those very individuals. And I think that is why the African Liberation Day is of a great importance to some of us as Africans. There has been individuals whom were in the forefront saying that the liberation of their countries are meaningless without the entire African continent getting the freedom that they deserve, the independence that they deserve. So, number one, a day like this is a day that we have to reflect on the contribution of those great Africans towards the African liberation, towards African independence, and setting a blueprint for the continent. But again, in a day like this, we have to reflect what were the ideas that brought these great Africans together, and how far have we gone in achieving that? What has been our obstacles, and what is there that is still limiting us in getting to our desired destination, as they put it. One of the great things that they pointed out at the time was there were tons of conflicts going on around the continent, and there was the need for Africans to recognize each other beyond the boundaries set by the Berlin Conference, but to equally look at other African countries as potential partners in development, but to equally contribute by coming together to build a force, economic wise, politically, and even militarily. Now, achieving this has been a problem for the entire continent. Yes, an incredible integration in the continent is the Africa Continental Free Trade. This has somehow answered few questions, but a lot of it is left pending unanswered. And that is Africans doing business in the continent, Africans taking charge of the African economy, Africans being in control of business in Africa. This is something that we have to work on because there is no liberation without economic freedom. And
Ashe.
economic freedom means having ownership. Economic freedom means the right to establishment. Economic freedom means Africans being able to do for themselves, being able to support one another when it comes to the community level and nationally as well. How much do we contribute in other African societies? How much do we give a helping hand to African countries in conflict? And how much do we support one another by making sure that we all stand for peace and Africans contributing immensely towards a better integration of the continent? Now, this was part of their agendas, and somehow it has not been achieved. As we are speaking, for the past few months, Africans have been dying in Sudan. And what is their crime, apart from just being an African? These conflicts must end for Africa to be in the forefront. It was last week in Sudan. It was few months ago in Ethiopia. It was a few years ago in South Sudan. It was and it is still happening in some part of the Cameroon. We have seen terrorism. We've seen individuals picking up arms in northern Congo. We have seen a similar challenge in Somalia. We've seen these challenges across the African continent. And today, our biggest threat, I do not see it as a white collar threat, but Africans eliminating other Africans. Africans being used as an instrument to marginalize, to kill, and to ignore the plight of other Africans. This has been a threat that champions across the world in 1963 stood to fight for. And this is the battle that young people like us have to work on achieving the specific goals that they have. Now, economic wise, we're here as a continent. We're talking about an integration, Africans having the right, having the potentials to do business. But then, how do we do business? I happen to be an individual who works on the logistic department, moving goods across the world into the Gambia. But I know for a fact that I cannot use an African currency to purchase anything from the Gambia in Kenya, from the Gambia in Ethiopia, from the Gambia in Ghana, from the Gambia in Rwanda. What do we use? A foreign currency to do business. And until we find a pathway using African monies, using African economic potentials, it will always be very difficult for us to set a blueprint that is going to lead us to that economic freedom. And on a final note, we it was in the saying of Garvey that the battle is to make sure that the African have that self-esteem, the African being able to stand anywhere, identify themselves as an African, speak a native African language without the fear of being looked down upon. That self-esteem is needed on our everyday life. It's needed in our interactions in the continent, and it is equally needed in our interactions outside of the continent. We've seen in many occasions where Africans, just because of their color, been looked down upon. Recently, we've seen a similar global news going on football, and this is what continue to happen. Every year, there is a particular case. We talk about it over the media for 3 days and wait for the next one to occur. And for us to stop this, there has to be that love towards one another. As we're here celebrating such an important day called African liberation, calling for African unity, there are other Africans who equally are somewhere looking at other Africans as a threat. And if they have the chance to take their life, they will do so. Why? Because of a tribal difference, because of a religious difference, because of a political ideological difference. And this is what we need to defeat. And the discussion is good for all of us to engage on the media, but equally off the cameras. How do we pull these young Africans from that mental slavery into believing that they are part of the African solution? And they are one of those that should contribute immensely towards the achievement of African liberation. Thank you so much for the question.
Wow. We're all ghosts. I mean, this is the one big reason why we're celebrating today. Because you, when we look at you, I mean, when I talk about you, the young people, your mind, the courage, the fact that you've picked staff, the rod and the staff, of your elders, of those leaders, they will never be ashamed. They will never look down on us. The fact that you are coming again in another form. Everybody says Usman Toure is Thomas Sankara. All of you just coming back in another transition and playing the same that role means that our unity would forever stand, and it is standing on a perfect ground. I thank you so very much, Mr. Usman Toure. And we'll get back to you just on a few questions. I know that you're in a hurry. I want to take the next guest live, and he will be joining you as well. He's your brother as well, because I wanted to take the Queen of South Africa, but her camera is still tripping. So I would like to usher in Amos Onyango. Amos
Thank
Onyango.
you.
Greetings to you, my brother
Thank you.
Amos. How are you?
Greeting,
Can you
Dr.
hear
Susan
us?
Tatah. How are you doing? Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Thank you so very much. Yes, yes, we
Can you hear
can.
me?
Thank you so very much. Yes.
Oh, good,
So,
good, good. I thought I was not
yeah.
audible enough.
I saw you in the waiting room when Usman was speaking, and the smile was a jaw to jaw, ear to ear, and like you were just reasoning as if what I saw was like, why are you saying what I'm supposed to say? Why are you just taking the words out of my mouth? Some kind of like that. Is it correct?
Yeah, it is true. And I think I'm happy to see my brother Osman. My brother Osman, we have been talking for quite some time, and I'm proud of the progress he's making. So when I see him in this platform, it gladdens me that we Africa are coming out to stand for Africa.
Wonderful. Yes. I mean,
Yes.
everything is relating together. I would ask the same question like I asked Mr. Toure. Mr. Onyango, what does this day actually mean for you? And what do you see as the future? like from everything. I mean, Usman talked about politics, economic development, migration, everything that he bundled up. Africans doing business amongst themselves, empowering the continent. I mean, you heard already all of these things. For you individually, with your vision and the concept, what do you think is the reason why we should continue to drum to celebrate this day?
Thank you very much, Dr. Susan Tatah. And just before I go straight to the point, I want to take this opportunity also to commend your good work you're doing for the continent, and also to urge the listeners who are listening today that the upcoming event, the Expo, the Pan-African Expo that is coming up, is a very good event, especially for youths. So I take this opportunity to welcome them to this amazing upcoming event that is going to bring young people from different parts of the continent to share, to exhibit, and to show the world that Africa has the potential. And this date is from the date 1st to 6th of June. So you can plan yourself and you attend this amazing event organized by the Daughter of Africa, Dr. Susan Tatah. Now, back to the question and back to the topic of today. I think, first of all, we need to really going back to our history. And in 1963, on a day like this, our forefathers sat and they formed this day. And the reason why they formed this day is to celebrate our heritage, to celebrate our culture, to celebrate our diversity, and to celebrate all that we have done. And that's why this day is very important to not just to young Africa, but it's important to all of us in Africa. Because this is a day that we try to reflect which progress are we making. Are we making any step for the things that our forefathers laid down? And these are the things that we need to ask ourselves, because 60 years down the line, when our co-founders and our fathers uh, founded this day in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, when they sat down to come up with this day, they knew that we need it as Africa. But I want to post some few questions, because today I was invited to attend one of the African Day celebrations in my country, Kenya. And I witnessed the majority of Africans who are there, they were dressed in foreign attire. I mean, and these are people who are championing for Africa Liberation Day. I mean, I'm not saying that dressing in a foreign wear is something that is bad. No, not at all. But why would we be making noise and celebrating a day which we ourselves are not proud of? We must start to be proud of this day. And being proud of it is by embracing our culture, our identity, our heritage, and dressing in an African outfit. That is one of the things that we need to do. Why would we be speaking about our liberation? Well, our brothers in Sudan are pitting against one another. Why will we be celebrating this African Liberation Day when I go to an airport, my passport is being looked back to forth, as if I'm a criminal? Why is it that we are still in this foreign mindset where we value our brothers as thieves? We treat Nigerians as conmen and conwomen. We treat Kenyans as conmen and conwomen. We go to South Africa and we throw one another with insult. I mean, why are we doing this as Africa? Why is it that we as Africa, we celebrate this day, but we still don't implement what our forefathers sat down in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia to come up with? Why are we still using foreign currencies? Well, we have the potential of using our currency. Why can't we come up with an Afro currency where we can both be celebrating and use it? Why are we using passport from different countries? It is very sad that in Africa, we still carry 57, let me say 56, 55 African passport crossing to one another's country. Well, in Europe, they use one passport, and this is why they're doing better than us. Sometimes it's not good to criticize, but sometimes it's good also to learn from the European. It's good to learn from the Chinese on how organized they are. And these are the issues we can sit down and we can try and implement. It's possible. I mean, they have been done elsewhere. We have done this before, and it can be done. And I'm very happy for the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, what they're doing. But I think we still need to do much. I mean, why is it that we sit in Africa and we still rely on foreign aids? If you check now what is happening in most African countries, we are borrowing at alarming rate. And it's going to reach a situation whereby in most African countries, the Chinese will be auctioning our land. If you look at Angola, they rely so much in oil, like, which is being exported. If you look at what is happening in Ghana, there is a lot of external borrowing. I mean, look at Mozambique, look at Zambia. The prices of copper have reduced. I mean, look at Sudan. The sanctions are affecting our countries. Look at my own country, Kenya. We have borrowed and we continue borrowing until the next generation that will come will still live in debts. Who said that we Africans, we can't finance and we can't build our own economy using our own money? I mean, look at the AU. Some of these things are very painful. I know the AU will not be happy with this, but it's good for us to speak about this. We cannot have an organization that is being funded by the Western, and then you expect our ideology to be passed in this organization. We must start funding our own organization by ourselves. And Gaddafi did it. If Gaddafi alone stood up and funded AU, by then it was OAU. Why is it impossible for us, Africa, to come out and support AU? Why is it that we are too much of Western borrowing? And I remember Thomas Sankara said this very well, that he who controls you will also feed you. So if the West is going to finance all the activities of AU, then they are also going to ensure that all the agendas are passed. And I'm not saying this, that these have never been talked about. We have been talking about these policy papers have been written. I mean, we have attended forums about this, but I think now is the time to walk the talk. I mean, if we say it is an African Day, it's an African Day. Let us celebrate African Day with our own culture, with our own heritage. Let us not try to impose the Western culture in us during Africa Day. I'm not saying their culture is bad, no. What I'm saying is that let us embrace our culture. Let us appreciate our culture. And that's why you see they are coming from different parts of their continent or different parts of their countries. They're coming to Africa because Africa is full of resources. And let no one say that Africa is poor. Africa is not poor. It is the mindset of Africans that is making Africa to be poor. If Gaddafi did this single-handed, that shows you that we have the potential to do it as African. And I'm very happy with what my brother Osman has said. The problem we have in Africa is that is brother rising against brother. We are not happy about ourselves. We are not collaborating among our African organizations. We are not supporting one another. If an Africa supports you now, today, for example, I can say Dr. Susan Tatah, if he supports this initiative that you're running, he will announce it everywhere. He will gazette it. He will even, in fact, the only thing they lack is microphone to keep on telling people that I did this. Let us learn from the Chinese. Let us learn from the Indians. Let us support without expecting any returns. Let us support without conditions. This is how we are going to build Africa. I mean, look at the Chinese. And I'm very happy with how the Chinese are organized. Look at how they are conquering our continent. And we are seeing Don't we have the mind? We have the mind. But why are we watching? We are watching because of greed. So we need to come out and support one another. And it is possible. These things are possible. If we join hand and support such initiative like this platform, which has existed and has uplifted so many Africans, especially young people, we can have a continent that is going to be self-reliant. We can have a continent that is not going to rely on other countries for aid. We can have a continent that men and women are empowered and they can deliver. Now, as we celebrate today, African Day, ladies and gentlemen, let us not forget what was started in 1963 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. As we celebrate this day today, let us celebrate with action. There is too much talks going on in the continent, too much forums. I'm not saying the forums are bad, but let us walk the talk. I'm very happy with the Africa Continental Free Trade. They are making progress, but there is still a lot that we need to do. If we are going to have one passport, let us do it. Like, I don't know why we are having so many debates about this. If you're going to have one currency, let us do it. Let us strengthen our regional organization. Let us strengthen the SADC, the East Africa community, the ECOWAS. But let us not allow ourselves to be controlled by the West. Because the moment they control our organizations, the moment they control our countries, then we'll not have a say. This is the time for us to rise up as Africa. And remember, Kwame Nkrumah said it, that we as Africa, we have to stand united. If we don't stand united, then we will not have good economy, we will not have good education. Our language will not be able to interact with one another. And I'm very happy my brother Osman also said it. Look at Tanzania. Look at what Nyerere did. So I believe we can come
Yes.
up and we can build our continent without relying on foreign aids. Some of these things are things that we talk about, but they are possible. We can do them. The only problem we have in Africa is that we are not united. We talk of unity, but we are not united. Look at what was happening in Sudan. I mean, tell me African countries which went to the rescue of people who are dying in Sudan. I mean, it was the United Nations coming up. Why must we have United Nations while we have the African Union? What is the role of the African Union? So let's think about this. Let's not establish organization that's for the sake of getting funding and money. Let's establish organizations that are going to help the interest of Africans. And that's why you see the Chinese are doing and are going for their interests. The French are going for their interest. The Europeans are going for their interest. The British are going for their interest. What are we going for as Africa? Are we just going to attend these events in Geneva, in whatsoever, just to take photos and brag, and then at the end of the day, we are living in a country where somebody in Kumasi cannot even get food? So let's think about it. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Wow. I mean, that's the pride. That's the reason to celebrate. I mean, we can sit and relax and watch our generation when they speak like this, when they think like this. We sit back and relax and say, yes, we have all the confidence that you will make it, that your generation is speaking exactly. I mean, Usman, Mr. Toure talked about the challenges, the opportunities, but also the to do. What he mentioned about the African free trade continuation, the continental trade, and that it is good, but more has to be done. The same thing we see it repeatedly coming up. Like you have analyzed, I mean, the challenges, but you talked more about us on us, and that's one of the things that I think we are noting down as we enter into this new celebration, I think Mr. Toure also talked about that. The main problem is one day we should stop the blame game and start focusing on us, how we treat each other, and how we actually celebrate this day. Now I see another champion, a young executive leader right here, Mr. Robert. Can you unmute yourself? Can you unmute yourself, Mr. Betty? All right, can you
Yes.
hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Wonderful. Welcome. Welcome to the Pan African Daily. I mean, Mr. Ture, everybody knows if you see the chat, and Mr. Onyango, people know. I mean, these are regular funders and supporters of the Pan African Daily. These are the champion, the cornerstones, the first people that actually open up, the Pan African Daily. But you, Mr. Betty, tell us, what does this day mean to you? I want you to listen to each other, because then from the analysis, I mean, Mr. Toure is already on the lane. He's a senior young leader, a family man, and that. So he would listen a lot, and then we would still comment on what each and everyone is saying. So over to you, Mr. Robert, Betty. What does this day mean to you? Introduce yourself and tell us, and give us your speech.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Susan Tata. My name is Robert Bithi, one of the country representative for Pan African Daily TV in Ghana. And
Yes.
I'm very glad to meet Mr. Amos and Mr. Turi. Thank you very much for your presentation. Um, I would like to say that this day mean a lot to almost all Africans, and it means a lot to me as well because this is the day that our forefathers had established with a purpose for Africa being united as it was. We were not divided like this before the colonialists came and divide our land into pieces among themselves without our consent. So after our independence, it is very right for our forefathers to take this initiative to unite us so that at least united we can build ourselves. Divided we can easily be conquered. That is one of the main reasons why we this uh, day was set so that we can have access to all our resources and then control ourselves. But it seems things didn't move in that order, and we are still under colonization. I heard Mr. Amos say something about our resources. In fact, recently, uh, China is taking over our uh, resources and then our electricity tariff just because we have default for loans from China. And you could ask yourself, what is this loan? What is it made of? These are just paper that other people are printing just to terrorize us. Why is it that African Union cannot come out boldly to print their own money so that our resources can be used? These are some of the things that our generation must start thinking about, and we should even send some clear signals to these leaders who hold these positions, because it seems that they hold the position just to deceive us. Because the reason why this organization is being formed first is for us to be united as Africans so that we can protect ourselves with our military. We can be able to produce our own food and then govern ourselves. But since every year we just celebrate this day just to remember, but the reason why this organization is being formed is not being fulfilled, and that is a headache. And we need to do something. At least let us send clear signals through some of the important platform like Pan African Daily TV to this organization that enough is enough and we need to do something as a leaders. We need radical leaders, not leaders who can sit down and talk and then close at the end of the day and take pictures. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. I mean, when we listen to our young people, I'm talking to all the elders and their brethren and the youths in the chat. I mean, please share a lot. That I see you're writing a lot here, but I mean, this is the time when we look at our young people, we're proud of them. I want to go back to Mr. Toure. Mr. Toure, you listen to Amos, you listen to our brother Betty. I mean, when you say, I'm sure you think like, am I alone? Am I going insane? But when you listen to them, tell me, what is the feeling that is running through your head? How do you see Africa? If imagine if 60% of you were just having this same mindset, what would Africa be in the next 5 years?
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Susan. Brother Amos is someone that I'm really, really used to. We've met on several occasions, and we got the opportunity to interact a lot beyond just meeting, but on conversations, advice towards one another. And he happens to be the luckiest young Africans. I've always told him this. For a young man like him growing up under the umbrella of Piolo Lumumba, that's an incredible opportunity that every young individual will aspire to have. So for brother Amos, he's an inspiration to me, and I've also seen him beyond this engagement on what he has been working on the ground. Through the Louis Afrique initiative, that he has gone beyond the business to even impacting communities, giving back, and recruiting a lot of young people through that. And for my brother Robert, it happens that I'm seeing him for the first time, but I'm sure this will not be the last engagement that we will share. But when I hear them, I hear the future of the continent. These are burning concerns. These are questions that young Africans have begun to ask. I happens to traveled in the interior of some African countries, and I've happened to interact with young people from there. Just as we are talking, I am currently doing a tour in the Gambia, and I have visited a very remote place where I found young Gambians, very young Gambians, in a community health center with zero facility. But these are young people, perhaps in 22, 23 years of age. They are there providing service to over 11,000 people, a hospital with zero facility. But something really touches me is once we got in there, one of them just walked to me and said, "You inspire me, brother." But before seeing that, I was already in tears of the condition that I found them. But he was not interested in any of that. But for having the opportunity to just see me. So to me, these are young Africans who have already begun a stand. These are young Africans who have already not just been a critic of what Africa is, but a genuine part of the solution that this continent needs. About months ago, I was on a flight from the Gambia heading to Kigali, Rwanda. A young lady came into the flight. She boarded in and saw me sitting down, and I could see her smile sitting next to me and saying, "Please take your belt." I looked at her and smiled back and said, "Oh, okay, thank you so much. Is this your first time entering the flight?" She replied, "Oh, yes, this is my first time." But then she was not alone. They came in with a team. I then asked, "Where are you from?" She gave me a name of an African country in the western side of the continent. And then I said, "Where are you going?" Happily, she replied, "I'm heading to Lebanon." Then I knew something is going on. I asked her, "What are you going to do in Lebanon?" She replied, "I'm going to be a home care. I'm going to do home care." And then I was like, "What job were you doing in your home country?" She is a qualified hairdresser. I will be proud to send my wife to her workshop, to her fashion shop, if I had that opportunity. I asked her, "Why are you leaving your business to be or to do home care in Lebanon?" She said she think they will pay her more. That is the reality of the continent. Hairdressing is a multi-billion industry all over the world. Now, for a
Correct.
young African lady, has sacrificed her future, has sacrificed her skill, have given up on a multi-billion industry to doing what? Home care in Lebanon, maybe with no salary. She might even be on a network of traffickers. But to her, her excitement is, oh, she has an opportunity to now leave her country that has not paid her enough for her skills, her country that has not paid her enough by giving her the opportunity to strive. The same way that I've seen that young person, I've crossed many African airports and see a network of 100 young African women being trafficked by Africans, deliberately doing this under the watch of African leaders, narrowing down the talents of young Africans, the people that should be contributing greatly to our fashion industry, the people that should be carrying the African culture, the African fashion, the individuals that should be carrying the pride of African creativity, the individuals that should be carrying African tradition, African culture, the individual that should be leading the technological advancements in the continent, those young Africans that should be leading inventions in the continent, the young entrepreneurs that should be our next Dangotes, our next freedoms, our next. Today, this continent has deliberately sacrificed their future into believing that their agreement with a Western institution founded to help Europe in the West is today dictating what African economy should look like, is today determining the price of commodities all over the African continent, is today making African governments deliberately ignored the plight of another African country because someone outside of the continent tells them how they should look like, how they should behave, how they should stand, what position Africa needs to take in any global conversation. Now, when we go back to look at the Africans that championed the day that we are celebrating today, these were the situation that they wanted to fight. These were the situation that they wanted to put a stop. But somehow they've made us to brand these individuals as the actual traitors of the continent,
Ashe.
the
Yes.
people who even retard the Africa's development. They've called them rebels. They've called them anti-systems. They've
Mm.
used their own people against them. Nkrumah is an example. Tomo Sankara is the test that we've all witnessed. And today, the few Africans that are even standing out in their various countries, calling on the same vision that these people had, somehow aligning themselves to the ideologies that these Africans had, are now individual awaiting trials in 2023 in their various countries to be sentenced for what? because they don't believe the French should have a say in the African economy. That's their only crime. So
Mm-hmm.
young people give me hope. I've seen the incredible talents among young Africans. I've seen the incredible wisdom and aspiration that young Africans develop in this day and age, wanting to see a better
Yes.
continent. Some of them have traveled across the world. The African everywhere today lives in fear because they don't know if they are a victim or an individual looking for a better livelihood. Young Africans are today packaged in refugee camps in 2023, awaiting deportation. Some of them are still dying in the Mediterranean Sea. By what? Both Africans and European contribution. So to me, yes, we have to reflect. But trust me, there is no inspiration I derive from speeches of African leaders today, because that's
Hmm.
not what we paid for them. We gave them a budget for a reason. And once you have a budget to act, what we await is not a good speech. The
Hmm.
speaking is for people like myself and Amos who do not have a budget to implement. If people trust you with power, they trust you with their resources. All you can do is to deliver them actions that change their life, actions that determine their future, and actions that shapes the generation to something better. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toure. Well spoken, all of you. I think in this age and time and purpose, there's I don't even know what we said it more than how many times, and we continue to say it. The one reason why we are celebrating this day, for all of you that are watching us on the continent and in the diaspora, is the fact that our young people are picking up. They just get it. Now they know. I don't really think we're going to have that kind of Africa that would be bought over from this kind of leadership that we're seeing. So honestly, I know it will be difficult. It will be difficult again for this kind of leadership to be, I don't know, to be bought over. And if you listen to a young leader, executive leader, I'm asking this question to Emma's and to Betty. You when you look at yourselves, I mean, I'm sure you're definitely very proud that you're carrying this mission of the liberation of Africa, that you are pouring more water on the dreams that your forefathers said today, isn't it? I mean, you're proud of what you are doing, Amos.
Thank you very much. I would have wished Osman to stay behind because he has spoken something that is very uh, important, but that goes without saying. Yes, of course, I'm happy. I'm not just happy of myself, Dr. Susan, but I'm happy of young people doing amazing things in this continent. Let me tell you, there are very
Yes.
many young people who have not gotten a platform such that where we are now talking, where we are addressing the world. And I can tell you without fear of contradiction that there are amazing young people doing amazing things in this continent. Better than Robert, better than Amos, better than Osman Ture. But Africa has set up a platform which is not convenient. And I can say the so called leaders, our leaders, have set a platform that is not good for young Africans to grow. And I know they are listening. This is because that you find young people are thriving in business, young people are thriving in charity, young people are thriving in different sector, in education, in innovation and talent. But this is a continent that doesn't value the importance of a young person. And it's sad. Look at Sadio Mane, our own African player. And this is a question I would like to pose to African governments or African heads of state. If Mane remained in his country without seeking greener pasture in another foreign country, could he have been valued and paid that kind of payment that he's getting in a foreign country? The answer is no. Why am I saying this? We need to start appreciating and giving worth to our African talented young men and women. We need to begin to embrace, just the same way our governors and our presidents are being paid millions of money. Why can't it not be done to a football player? Why is it that when a football player goes, is sent to go and play somewhere, let's take for example in another country, they cannot even pay their own accommodation. But a governor has houses which they don't sleep on. They have iPads and laptops which they don't know how to use. And a student or a young person in a small village in Kaduna is dying to do a research with a lamp that can't even give light for her. Why is it that we have our leaders having so many cars and they make noise all over? I don't know if this is happening in Robert's country, and I believe it's happening. They make a lot of noise with siren and so many vehicles on the road. Yet we don't have an ambulance in a rural village in Kadem in Kenya. Why is it that our own leaders are storing wealth, or they're keeping money in different African countries? Millions of money. I have evidence of so many African leaders, especially in my country, that are keeping money outside the continent. Yet a young person is dying in Turkana just to have a cup of water. Who bewitched our leaders in Africa? What are we doing as African leaders? Why are we sitting in the podium with ego, with the praises that we want to be seen that we are doing good, and we are not doing good? Recently, I visited a rural area in Busia County. And one of the things that I want to highlight here is that there are so many unsung heroes in this continent. It's not just happening in my country. There's a young man called Frederick Munuku in a very rural area, interior of this Republic of Kenya, that is impacting life. This is a young person who has taken drug addicts, he has taken orphans, and is supporting close to 1,000 plus little kids who have been thrown in the street without a single support of any petty money from the government. Assume he had the support of the government, we could be doing wonders. And I'm not saying this to say that he is the only person. There are so many young people, and not just young, there are so many people in the continent. I mean, Susanna, you can see from Gambia, from Gabon, from Nigeria, young people are coming up with good initiative. They are going out and doing it, but they're getting frustration from the government. Because some of our African government, I'm sorry to say this, some of them are enemies of progress. You do a good thing, they are looking for ways to pin you down. You critique them, they take you as their enemies. They don't take the criticism positive. And this is why Africa is not growing, because we are in this egocentric nature that we believe that my opinion is my opinion and nobody can do about it. Nothing can be done about it. So we need to start embracing different ideologies. If you want to succeed in this continent, we need to work with one another. Part of the problem with our African government, I'm not saying, I'm not blaming our governments, but I'm saying let us embrace one another. You are our leaders, you are
Mm-hmm.
elected.
Mm-hmm.
Support what we are doing. Be part of it. Not being part of it to take pictures and saying, I did this. But in real sense, you are not doing it. Let's take credit where it deserves. But if we continue robbing from one another, if you continue insult, because nowadays, Dr. Susan, what is happening in Africa is that we are in the business of competition. And that's why our Africans cannot do well. Because you get South Africa is competing with Ghana, Kenya is competing with Nigeria. We want to see who is best, who is not best. We need to come together and do things together. This is why the Chinese are taking over our continent. It's because they are united. But the inferiority complex is in us. We see South Africa as the best country. We are not seeing something good in the Gambia. We are not seeing something good in Lesotho. We are not seeing something good in Namibia, a desert that has been transformed. Let us begin to embrace our Ubuntu-ness. Let us not speak about Ubuntu in papers. Let us act. And we are going to have a continent that is self-reliance. And we are going to have a continent that young people will not be escaping to go to Europe, to Asia, name them, to look for greener pasture. Sometimes you blame young people, but the reason why they are moving from their country, I can pose this question. How will you work in a country that taxes you everything that you earn? It's very bitter. How will you work in a country where a location is made for young people to grow and they grab money, which they will never use when they die? Not unless we African leaders realize that one day we will die, they will still worship money. And let me tell you today that money is the source of all evil. If you stand out there and you can't do anything with the little you have to that community that is suffering, then that is the way your legacy is going to fade away. So let's begin to play our small part in our small areas, and we are going to make this continent the best continent that everybody in the entire world will admire to be in. Let us support our countries that are dying. Let us uplift them. Let us encourage them. Let us not throw insult. Let us find a way where we can work together as young people, bring different ends together and find solutions for this continent. Let us push the African Union to act on our agendas that can develop this continent rather than channeling the agendas of the West that will not help Africa. Thank you.
That was elaborate. I mean, I couldn't even express it in another word. Thank you so very much, Amos. Thank you, thank you. I see Nongo, the queen, the princess, the everything of South Africa, waiting impatiently. And I want to salute also our brother Lamin Saner and Robert. You've been here. I would like to take out Amos. You would like uh, to 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 leave the platform or just say good night to everyone. And because I see a lot are waiting in the line. Thank you, thank you, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Susan Tatah, for hosting me. And thank you to young person who are listening outside there. Let's keep pushing. The journey is too tough and bumpy, but let us not give up. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. Thank you. Good night from Kenya, Nairobi. And we are welcoming Betty, you just want to stay a little bit here, but I want to add also a king in the diaspora that is also listening to you on this conversation. So we welcome our king from the Caribbean, Ian Joseph, on this conversation with your children and your young people as you listen to them. So I want to go directly. Lamin, I see your camera is shaking. And Nongo, could you just introduce yourself, Lamin, and say who you are, and then I will go back to Nongo. Nongo, you're a little bit stable now. I don't want to lose you. Over to you, Lamin. Yes. Okay. Uh-huh. Lamin, can you hear us? Okay, I think his camera is a problem. Nongo, can you hear us? Nongo, can you hear? I think everything is freezing right now. All right. Nongo, can you hear us?
Yes. Hello, things I can hear. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, my queen. Just go on. We don't want to lose you again. I've been seeing you going and coming in. How is South Africa doing? What does this day mean to you, Nongo?
Thank you, Doctor. Greetings to you and your listeners and the robust young happy day. We're coping in South Africa. I'm sure you've seen a lot of developments taking place, the load shedding, network shedding, everything. What seems to be because of the instability of politics in our country. However, we are excited that we are here today. I mean, I think one should look at the purpose of the formation of the AU, with it being the AU. But I think at the core of it is the fact that definitions and what has been said by young people, I think they've spoken at length. So to avoid repetition is that we should look at the fact that at the end of the day, what the African Union or the AOU long because history the colonization and the oppression our Africans to live and to be in a waiting period to pay, looking at casualties that will be happening now and then. So those who were in exile were waiting for something to happen in their countries. Those who were in armies to defend themselves, at some point they would wait in some, you know, will be waiting for United Nations to resolve freedom at some point. You know, young people, especially students in Africa, they will be also waiting to be accommodated in high institutions, to be approved for bursary schemes. You know, you will find that even general activists will wait for nations that against anti-oppression and anti-colonization. But at the crux of it, you'll find that they were even waiting for the country from sympathetic churches. And the question is, from that angle, how much has changed now? Because yes, so much progress seemed to happen, changes, having moving without visas. We are seeing integration starting to take place in our African countries. We are now seeing young people who are our Nkrumahs, our leaders, our Thomas Sankaras, the Lumumbas, but the young people now old, but taking the stance now. But how much have we improved from that? Because the waiting to us then reveals the complement of how the Africans were subjected to be waiting theoretically, but also practically being in queues, you know. And we look at our situations in Africa right now, people are still subjected to be waiting to be placed in high institutions because of the high population, the infrastructure that is available to accommodate that number of children. You know, we are still looking at Africans still waiting for jobs. We are still looking at Africans still queuing and waiting for grants. And the question is, what then is happening with the entire agenda of 2063? We are to talk about integration continentally and politically. How far has our consciousness gone? Because we still find countries like South Africa where you find young people with different views whether we should be Pan-Africanists or we are still viewing our Africans as xenophobic, non-documented nationalists. And it speaks then to the level of consciousness that is not in harmony from where we are, because there is lack of political will from our government. And it's funny, if we want to speak about inclusive growth and good governance, democracy and justice from justice of human government, then it's us that the progress that has been made from 65 years ago, it became somehow, it became stagnant. And to where we are now, it looks like it's regressing. Because we
Mm-hmm.
can now be sitting in this still looking like suffering with peace and security. Yes, it's pillars of the 2063 agenda. You know, we are still looking at young people still suffering with cultural identity. We are still struggling with development, especially when it comes to women and young people. I think today's show also proves that we are still struggling even with women coming to this space.
Yeah.
But I think more we need to all begin to now integrate ourselves as young people and as women. Because as much as we need the freedom that Osman was talking about, which is where we must then begin to speak about fundamental liberator, which is education.
Mm-hmm.
But how then do we begin education? Because when they came, they made sure that they don't provide education for any African person that is going to be competent globally. So how come, not just because of aid, but the expertise that we have? If we have entrepreneurs, why are we unable to combine the entrepreneurs together with the activists? Because I think one of the greatest things that our forefathers did was to exile. Some were going to school, some were on the ground. And there would be a nice integrated chain that to see they get to that revolution in any means. And so, amongst ourselves as young people, we need to learn that kind of integration. How do we get young people who are entrepreneurs to not just compete amongst each other as young people, but to
Mm-hmm.
identify the ones that need to go to school to run our systems, the one that needs to
Mm.
go to school to produce books for us? And how do they then also fund those who are on the ground to begin to mobilize and organize so that they begin to progressively and effectively agitate the system? And so I think we are making great progress. In South Africa, we have an interesting act that has just been passed, which is called an electoral act. It began as a bill, and we're running in the forefront on the ground. And it has been an act that is still constitutional. But that act is important because then it sets a tone to say if South Africa can change such constitutions driven and forefronted by young people and women, then it gives hope also to Nigeria that just had elections. Young people also were eager to stand issues for that long to see change in the society. But now we begin to realize that the system is so tight, even industrially and technologically, that it begins to be rigged continuously. So we need to then continually empower each other on how to even control these systems technologically at a continental level, acting locally.
Are you still with us?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. I'm still with you. Congratulations.
Wonderful, wonderful, because it's pulling. Thank you so very much for that great presentation. I mean, the combination of how you package the concept. I mean, aligning to that. I mean, it's almost like poetic when I listen to it. The wait, the wait. How long are Africans going to wait? How are we going? How long? It's like we started Nongo and we talked about the Berlin 1884. Osman, Mr. Toure talked about it. And like we were never given a place on the table. That was the question that our leaders have been talking about it. Africa has never been given a place. It's the same way Africa has never been given a seat in the United Nations Security Council. Um, I mean, from the later days to now. And you just articulatedly put it like, how long are we going to continue to wait? How long is the young African or the Africans going to wait, to become the next king in office, in everything, even in the level of family? So I thank you so very much for bringing that perspective, and also for pointing out to one of the key things that we're saying. You said it's just a proof that women don't want to push the agenda forward. You can see in the participation. Sometimes we say the participation is that they don't give them. Do you have that impression? Because I don't think we need to be given a space. We need to take the space, not to be given. How does that sound?
That's exactly correct, Doctor. We have complaining for too long. We can't say we are not given a space. We just need to take space. We have all the means to take that space, and it's proven that at any point where a woman occupies that space, the atmosphere changes, the energy level changes, the competence changes, and women should start believing in themselves. Women should start valuing themselves so much that they should not only themselves as instruments of only serving the patriarchal system, but also as drivers of the system. And the space is there, they just need to occupy it.
Absolutely correct. It is time to push the agenda forward. Thank you so very much, Nongo. I see, your camera is shaking like, I don't know. At any time, I'm like, I'm going to miss you. Oh, I'm going to lose you. Okay. So that's why I'm very happy. I just want to take somebody really quick. And I hate when Brother Yan is driving and speaking on the show. I really don't like it. If it would have been possible that you just park your car somewhere, because for me, this is very risky for us to do that. Nango, let me just give Vedi a question. Listening, Vedi. Robert, oh, it's very late out there. Can you unmute yourself? All right, let's just let's just put you to sleep. Wait. I'm so sorry, Robert. We had to keep you, but I mean, I see you were enjoying the conversation up to now.
Yeah,
Did you
definitely.
hear what Nongo said? You heard the Queen of South Africa. What is your opinion to what she said about, Africa's youth waiting and waiting for the leadership even to take over? And she also mentioned the issue of the women and the girls being a part of this conversation. What would you encourage your girls to do, your generation?
Thank you, Dr. Susan Tata, and thank you, Nongo, too, for the nice presentation. Uh, you see, nature has proven that women are the leaders. It is
Mm-hmm.
just that we are stubborn to understand. But if we say that God created everybody and then the majority rules, and then the women are the majority, there is no way we, the men, are going to win in this battle. So women should be taken seriously in this regard because when they rise, we follow. And Dr. Susan Tata, you know this, and then you know that when the women take the lead, the men don't have a say. We follow. So when we talk about uh, our women and then the younger generation should be taken seriously, I think it is in the right direction because we don't need to forget the women at all. When we left them behind, we will go back definitely. And that is one of the things that I think African leaders should pay keen interest in.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. And Robert, I know it's really late out there, so I would like to throw you out. What would you just like to tell the audience? Just greet them. All of you will be, I'll be sending you all to bed because I know it's really late out there, actually. So I just want to hear one word on you, like what should the way forward be like on this day next year? What should be happening more? Nongo, I want to get to you. What is your final statement about what we should pay attention as we celebrate this day?
Hearing me, but I think the start was us meeting together, and it has been progress that we have been staying together. I think the success lies in this to be to add up so that
It's okay. We got you. Your I mean your your technique is really a setback, but we understand you, Nongo. Thank you so very much for being here, for staying with us, for showing your face again, putting your voice as usual on a particular special day for Africans worldwide like this. So, Robert, what is your last thing you wanted? What's the last word you want to share with your young people tonight? Just a word.
Okay, my last word to all the young Africans is that we need to rise up. When we rise up, you tell leadership the right thing to do. But if we refuse to do what is right, then we'll all fall. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good night to you. Good night to you and our regards. Thanks for being here. Okay. So I saw a Billy saying, I mean, we should lessen all these conferences and start building industries. And I think that's one of the key things that we're learning for this day. And as I bring on our brother King Ian Joseph. Like I said, I really hate when you're driving and you're on the show. That shouldn't work. But let's just say hi. How are you celebrating the African Liberation Day out there in the Caribbean?
Well, I'm actually parked now. So
Okay,
over here, we will be having, a march through the streets of the city,
okay.
organized by the Pan Africanist people over here. We also will be having speeches and partake. I mean, we do this every year, to commemorate this day. But I just want to say something about the young people that I just listened to. I feel I feel good about the future of Africa if it's in the hands of those 5 or 6 young people that you just spoke to. I mean, sometimes I think there's an old proverb that say that you would not eat from the tree that you plant, but the tree that you would have planted, Dr. Tata, that is giving all these young people the platform to know each other. Probably they don't know each other in the physical, but through your platform, that they all connected. And there was one message that came out of all the conversations that I listened to, that it's time for Africa to take its place, its rightful place on this planet. And I think,
True.
yeah, I definitely think I'm impressed with the conversations that I listened to for the last hour plus. And I am proud of those young people, and I hope that they stay on track. That when we would have transitioned, I think, passing the baton on to people like those, that we would rest easy with our ancestors, knowing that the business of Africa will be taken care of.
Wonderful. Absolutely amazing. I mean, you said something and it's very true. The way you celebrate this day in the Caribbean is like I've never seen it anywhere. I remember when we were in Panama, it was during this period, and the celebration is what we've never seen. I mean, you go to this, it's a whole carnival, it's a whole festival. The significance is there. On the continent, you really barely just see this happening. Where do you think the issue could be? I mean, like,
Because we understand, and in the diaspora, we understand that the freedom that we have today is off of the what should I say, the sacrifices that our ancestors would have made. Some of them didn't even make it across the Atlantic, but they sacrificed their lives to let us understand that they rather die than being in bondage. So every time we celebrate anything of Africans and anything of African significance, it's a celebration for us. It's whatever we're gonna do. It's more like a party. Let's celebrate our freedom. Our freedom is to listen to music, listen to the drums, dance, understand that the freedom that we have now was paid for by blood, by bloods of our ancestors. There's power in that blood. That the blood, the same blood, is still running through the veins of us who are alive now, and we come from the same bloodline of those would have made the sacrifices. And I'm quite sure that the ancestors are dancing too. So why not dance? Dancing is a language.
absolute. Brother Yan, it will be a pleasure. I know that we're receiving you already early next week, and we're gonna do a lot of dancing. You're going to bring that spirit. I can tell you. I mean, sometimes some Africans have given up, like they don't even hear the sound of drums and dance. And I can't wait for us to actually celebrate everything about us. At the Germany Pan African Expo that is coming up exactly this day is the day that we're starting. Thursday is the day number one, and for 4 days we will do nothing than just celebrate. It's been a lot and a long journey for Africans. It's been a while. It's been a lot of challenges from generations, thousands of generations. I think what Africans should be doing more now, even apart from just talking about business, politics, and that, is just to celebrate life, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. And I will be traveling there, as you said before. And guess what? I will be flying right over the Atlantic Ocean, the same ocean where our ancestors would have given their lives to before giving their lives over bondage. And I'm happy to be a part of that. So it's gonna cost a couple of hours to get there. I mean, by any means necessary, I will be in Germany to celebrate this with you, and to get to meet you, Dr. Tada.
Thank you. It will be a pleasure and honor.
All
Okay.
right.
Thank you so very much. So you stay safe and drive home safely, please. Take care of
Okay, and
yourself.
you take care. All right.
Thank you. Good night. Bye bye. Good. Wonderful. I think we are rounding up this conversation. I still see two young people in the chat, but their camera is totally dead. I have Mabila Adongo. That's him there, as you can see. But there's no access. And then Robert is also still here, but all of them no access. So, but we have, oh, okay, okay, okay. Mabila, oh my God. Wow. We so happy, happy, happy to see you. Hmm. I mean, I see you guys in the chat. This is the young Pan African daily TV executives and representatives all over and the countries in Africa just coming
Mhm.
up to
Yes.
share this moment with us. How are you, Adongo? Tell us about yourself. Tell us about
I'm doing
everything.
well. Oh, sure. I'm good. Well, my name is Mabila Adongo. I'm a Ghanaian, but I'm currently in Nairobi because I'm studying at a university in Nairobi. And yeah, I'm really, really happy to be here because it's been a great experience, and I always love it when I'm able to, listen to the greater minds of Africa, but also my colleagues who are very passionate about Africa. And today being a special day in our history, it's really an honor to be here. I wouldn't say much. Yeah.
No, you should say much. Adongo, you should say much because, I mean, the way you're just the whole, tell us, tell us, tell us what this day mean to us and Africans, as Africans, and particularly to you, the young girls of Africa's future that are coming up. I mean, we
Okay.
love you so much. The courage, even you to just be and show your face here. We are so honored. So tell us everything about you. What have you been doing? What is
Mhm.
your vision? Now you're going to be the queen, the next Nana of Ghana. What are you going to do to bring the change and the celebration and the vibration? So,
All right.
what should be happening in the lives of young Africans? Over to you.
Okay, I'd start by talking about how African Union came about, right? So our forefathers gathered in Addis Ababa, and then they came up with the African Union. But I remember from what I've learned, Kwame Nkrumah was saying, let's not leave here without a single African government, a single African currency, and a single African capital. But that really never happened, and I just feel like because of that, we've had a setback that we would have been able to overcome should in case our ancestors had been able to form more of a one kind of economy within the African continent. And I just feel like right now we kind of view the African Union as an organization of leaders and politicians. But I really feel like each day should be an African Liberation Day, and each day of our lives should be a union between Africans that should be reflected in the way we treat each other. It should be reflected in, when I first came here, I realized that, my friends back at home, they felt the Kenyan accent was funny and they would laugh at it and all that. And I feel like that's not appropriate because why are we mocking ourselves over the accents we speak, a foreign language that was imposed upon us? It's not fair, right? It's not fair to ourselves. And I just feel like I wish we get to that point where we appreciate ourselves for who we are, we learn about who we are, and we understand and accept who we are. That's what I really wish we would have as a union of people, and cherish each other. For what I have done, I feel like for the most part, I have okay. So we have this group in school here that I have started. We are hoping that we can make more impact in our surrounding communities and also in Kenya. So we call ourselves as Africans. And basically, what we do is we think of projects and activities that we can implement in schools and less deprived areas within the Nairobi area, that we can help, like less disadvantaged people. But also the main message we push is self identity and self acceptance. So how do we learn about ourselves? How do we understand our own history from our own perspective? And we also believe that catching them young, that's always, I feel like, because of the experiences we've had, you grow up in an environment or in a society that does not really that sometimes, if you are not very strong, you might have this sort of inferiority complex because of, you know, what you see on TV, what you see on social media, all these other things, even the books you read, it's all about other people. So really, we also try to, so because of that, we try to educate the younger ones about, African history, African heritage, and African culture, in the hopes that if we really understand ourselves from the beginning, from childhood, then it will be easier for us to love ourselves and accept ourselves as we are. So that's what I'm really, really passionate about as an African. I'm really passionate about our identity as a people and self-love as a people. Like, why are people bleaching? Why, black women trying to look like, I don't know. But let me pause it there. But I just feel like there is that inferiority complex. There is that amount of self that we don't accept. And I feel like it's not that we have any lack in our lives as Africans or as black people or as Africans in the diaspora. It's just the way the systems has become, or the systems became at some point in life, because when we were living, we really never cared about who looked like how and whatever, until certain experiences came into our lives. And I just feel like that's really one thing I believe in, because if you don't love yourself, if you don't respect your identity, if you are not consciously happy with who you are, at the end of the day, whatever you do is like an imposter that you are trying to um, be, not really yourself. So my main passion is about, consciousness and our identity. We getting to understand our true selves from the African perspective, not what we've been told, and we trying to get to a point where we are consciously aware of the decisions that we make, of the actions that we make, of every little thing that we do that can contribute to our being as a black people, and yeah, African people.
Hmm. Wow. Woo. I mean, you're so sweet to listen to. I mean, I could not even, I had to leave the studio and just sit back and relax. I'm seeing you, the way you articulate, you have it. You have everything. You have
Thank you.
everything, your wisdom, your power. I mean, you would be our co-host here, okay? I mean, you
Thank
would have a daily show, a daily Pan-African daily TV talk for your girls,
Oh,
for your young generation. Yes. I
wow.
see my senior executive team is already congratulating. I just say Matamera is here, Masho is here, Kojo is here, Snovia is here, and everybody's just like, wow, so wise for her age, you know. And,
I'm impressed.
and,
I'm actually honored.
no, for real. This is what when we sit and sometimes we give, we don't know whether you understand. We don't know whether the young people are following. We don't know whether they're minding their business, the African business, and just
Mhm.
focus on who they are, their life, their identity, their consciousness. To see a young, energetic, smart, intelligent, beautiful queen, dark melanated, like you say. You don't even know. Some of us are just concoct. Sometimes we don't even know where you belong. And
In the middle.
when we see this dark, sweet, lovely, your hair, your everything. I mean, you just have to be one of us, okay?
It's my honor.
you are you just have to be one of these. I mean, I'm not like you said that's what you love doing, but I
Yes,
think
I do.
from today we know that this is what you should be doing. Am I correct?
Yes, I should. I should do more.
Everybody, I see your fans. Mabila, I'm so proud of you. Africa is indeed rising. Millie, Millie, wise, wise, wise indeed. Sister Queen, Annette, who will be joining me, Annette Edwards, all of them, they just say, well done, Ion Queen. You say, you are already the generation that we're looking to take over this leadership. We're so proud of you. We're so
Thank
proud
you.
of you.
Thank
Now,
you.
do you have why did you choose Kenya? This is what I just still
Mm.
want to say. Most young, brilliant girls like you, just like Osman Ture, would like would maybe would like to leave the continent. Like you heard this story when she talked about the girl going to Lebanon, right? But why? What is it? Just tell your young people what made you to stay, why you choose to study, not abroad, but in Kenya, and that you are considering Kenya as you. Tell us.
Okay. First of all, I'd say when I was growing up, I barely knew about most of the African countries. I don't know. I really knew little. Maybe I knew Nigeria, I knew Burkina Faso, things like that. I really didn't know much. But then during my last year of high school, my middle year in high school, that's when I got to actually have a lot of information about, countries in Africa. And my journey in Pan Africanism actually started in high school. So I had this little club in high school where, like, we used to just watch videos, talk about stuff, interesting things, like, listen to all these powerful speeches and stuff. And that's where I started developing that interest in Africa. And I actually applied to some universities in the US and all that stuff. But I never knew I was going to come to Kenya or to study in Kenya. But then when I thought of it, I was like, why am I applying only to other places? Like, there are other countries in Africa I can apply to. Why not? So I decided to apply to Kenya because also I saw a scholarship in the university I'm currently in, right? So I was like, okay, then I can try this. That's when I applied for the university and the scholarship, and luckily I got both. And when I was going to come here, like, some of my friends are like, I mean, you're just going to Kenya. I don't know. That mentality is really bad. That's why I started by saying my biggest concern is about our mentality as Africans, because I was wondering why my colleagues are feeling it's not good enough for me to study in Kenya. Like, what's wrong with that? And that just actually gave me a sort of understanding of the kind of perspective we have about ourselves. Like, we value our own people less than we value people of different backgrounds than us, because why wouldn't you be happy for me that I'm going to another African country? Why should it be in a different continent? And I just think that I'm actually glad that I came to Kenya, because my school is an international university, so we have students from virtually any part of Africa here. Like, literally, we have like over 70 nationalities here, so we have students from across Africa, and that actually made me feel the presence of Africa in me. I feel like if I was in the West or in a different continent other than studying here, and I would have not been immersed in an African culture. I would have not been immersed in a space where I would be able to learn more about myself as an African. And I just appreciate the fact that I'm here because I get to learn from all these other cultures, all these other African people, and all these other young people. The group that I said I formed, we're like people from all over Africa. It's not only Ghanaians, it's not only Kenyans. Like, we have people from Malawi, from Zambia, from Liberia, from all over Africa, really. So I think I really appreciate that. And the message I would send to my colleagues out there is that it's really time for us as Africans to appreciate ourselves and to appreciate what we have in Africa. Because if you go somewhere else to learn, let's say, sociology, you're going to learn their sociology, and then you expect that you can use that sociology to help Africa. It really wouldn't work because it's in that context, not in the African context. So we really need to learn in our own context. We need an education in the African context. So if we are always seeking for things from the outside, how do we then build ourselves using knowledge that we took from somewhere else? I'm not saying that it's not good to study abroad or anything. What I'm just saying is studying abroad shouldn't be viewed as more lucrative than studying in our own continent. We should not have that mindset that our education is less compared to others. If that is the reason why we are studying outside, then it is just that we are looking down upon ourselves. And the advice I would just give to young people is that no, you don't have to do that. You have to love yourself. You have to love who you are. You have to love where you come from. Regardless, yes, we might not have the best universities, we might not have the best educational systems, but if you learn in that system, you will know what is wrong with it and you know how to change it. But then if you don't, you might not even be concerned because you really never experienced it and you don't have an issue because, well, your life is comfortable enough. So I just think that we just have to get to that point where regardless of what we have, we try to maximize it in the best way we can. Yeah, if you're brilliant out there and you feel like you can be abroad, fine. But if you can also be in the continent, why not? And one thing I always say about people who study, no, people, Africans in the diaspora, is that the issue is not that they are in the diaspora, not in Africa. The issue is that when people leave Africa, they tend to forget Africa. Other people come to Africa and they send all their money back home. They take, I don't know, whatever they take from our country. They literally come here with a plan to get so much and then build their economies. But that's not the case for most of us Africans. When we leave the continent, we tend to forget about our continent completely. We try to kind of dissociate ourselves from our Africanness. We try to, act all, I don't know, white, I don't know what, things like that. That's what actually is our problem. If you can study outside of the African continent, but you study in a way that you are not going to forget about your home. You study with a mindset that I want to build home, that whatever I make, I have to contribute to home. At the end of the day, that's awesome because we want opportunities for our people to, explore the rest of the world, right? But if you are studying and you feel like you really completely want to detach yourself from Africa, from our activities because you feel like, oh, maybe Africa is not developed and all those things, like at the end of the day, I just feel like those are the things that contribute to our downfall because all that feel that they are brilliant or all the brilliant minds are being dissociated from the continent, and the continent is being sacked. It's not like the people that are there here are not doing enough, but if there is just so much being taken away, how do you compensate for that? So I just feel like regardless of whether you're even studying the continent or not, whether you're leaving the continent or not, it's all about our mindset. It's all about the activities and the decisions that we make. Are they in a way that can contribute to our lives as Africans, that can help other Africans, that can develop Africa? That's what's most important, and that's the message I'll just send to everyone out there.
Oh my God. All right. All right. I want to remind Queen Synovia, you just like, I feel like she's my daughter. Synovia, I feel like she's mine. All of us. All of us. I mean, Micah Heka is saying, making her much like, you're just pouring. You just came at the right day today, the day where we think the liberation of the Africans worldwide is reflected in you. I mean,
Oh,
everything that you're putting everything so fast and so quick and so bundle up, and the message is just like pop, 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 pop. Like you just have something to deliver and run. Like in fact, when you run, we are so grateful. We love you so much, Princess. You don't know you're
thank
blessing our
you.
lives right here,
Thank
right
you.
now. And because we so miss our young girls, look at all them that were here. Robert is still there struggling to come back live. I don't know whether he's listening. And a lot of them, apart from you and Nongo, I want and as senior executive to say we make a girl club. All right, doesn't mean that the guys are not part of this club. But then
Mm-hmm.
we have also the youth club, and it's as if when there are more youth that are men, then the women tend to shy away. Do you have that impression, like there is also a demarcation in your generation, the youths, the boys and the girls? Do you have that feeling, and what can
Yes.
be done about it?
Okay.
Uh-huh.
I'll start by my experience here in school. So, like I said, I'm under a scholarship, the Mastercard Foundation scholarship at my school. And one time I vied for a position. So, we have the scholars president. So, I vied for the scholars president. And interesting enough, I was the only girl vying for president. The rest of the girls were vying for vice president and the rest. And then, okay, so I was like, why is no girl vying for president really? Like, why are they all vying for vice president? And like, during my campaign, like, I expressed myself. I told people that I really don't understand why all the girls are vying for vice president instead of president. I'm because I was surprised because I was like, okay, in my high school, it was an all girls school. So I really never experienced having to compete with boys in high school, and I was the girls preferred in my high school, in my junior high school. So it was kind of strange for me when I got that kind of scenario, because I was always used to going for what I want. I don't care if I'm a girl or whatever, you know. So that was one of the things I said, and I just realized that our generation is no different from the other generations before us. It's still the same. Like we are saying we are empowering girls and all these other things, but systemically things have really not changed. There are a few girls that have gone past that, but there are still many that are there. That's why, like, research shows that as much as women are have been empowered, you find that in these big organizations, the man is on top, and then you have so many women under. Why can't a woman also be on top? So I feel like that's really an issue, and it has not been completely addressed. And I'll just say to my fellow women that it's not like, oh, because you're a girl you can't do this, or because if you're a girl you can't do that. Of course, I lost. Yeah, I lost the elections. Actually, let me add that I lost the elections. But I just, when they declared the results and everything, they asked me to talk. So I was just like, I'm glad that at least among the list for candidates for president, there was a woman. I'm just glad. That's like an effort. Maybe next time the woman who would stand would win. And this year, when they were doing the elections, like about five different guys came to me. Oh, Evelyn, I want to vie for president. Can you vie? Okay, so this time around they were pairing it up. Last year was just individual, but this time around they were pairing the president and the vice. So a whole lot of guys came to me telling me, "Oh, Evelyn, I want you to pair as my vice. I want you to." Each one of them came, and I was not really ready to vie for this year. So each of them came, and I was like, "No, I'm not really ready to vie." And they're like, Evelyn, you're like this. I feel like you would be a strong candidate for me. We would win if we go together. And I said no to all of it. And I sat in my room and I was like, if I was going to go, I was going to go for president. I'm not going to go for vice. I don't mind if I'm going to lose. I'm going to go for what I want. It's best to go for what you want. And then if you lose, you can try again instead of going for something because you feel like that's the bare minimum. Like, I don't go for the bare minimum. I go for the highest I could ever reach. So I was like, I'm not going with any of you. And if I was going to vie this year again, I was going to vie for president again. And that's what I actually asked most of them. I was like, why do you come to me asking me to be your vice president? Actually, some of them were students that I had come to school before. And just because they were guys, they were asking me to be their vice president. And like, actually, and this year, funny enough, there was no girl vying for president. All of them were vice presidents. All of them vied for vice presidents. And like, really, you asking me this question just brings me back to those memories, because I feel like my generation haven't really changed so much from the previous generations. And I feel like what you really said is important. We need to continue to empower women. I know there are a lot of talks about how the boy child is being neglected and something, but what people don't understand is, let's say if men were at 70% and women were at 40%, if you continue to if you give maybe women so much opportunity, there's really not going to be within that short period of time that women will get to 70% and pass that 70%. Women are probably not even yet up to the 70%, talk less of going above. But it's just because we are used to having them at the 40%, if I should say. Now that maybe they are around 55%, you feel like, oh no, the women are too empowered and all that stuff. But I feel like, yeah, there are still communities where like women are very, very deprived. My friend here is a South Sudanese, and he will tell you that in their country, there are still girls who don't even go to high school. They get married very early. There are others that stop in high school. It's still an issue, and we really, really need to also continue to focus on the girl child, because things have changed, but there's still a lot to be done.
Evelyn, you are a firebrand. Okay, I mean, you picked our hearts to that tonight and run with it. I have your brother
Yeah.
beautifully sitting with his African Union T-shirt and just pumping at us. Raymond Etze is our country representative and a senior executive, and already a YouTuber by its own profession and in his own ability to be able to drive the change on the continent. When you listen to your sister, your beautiful a sister sitting just close to you, and all what she's been saying, what can you say to that? I mean, what future are you looking for? or are you looking at? Raymond, over to you. Raymond, unmute yourself. Unmute. Yeah,
Yes.
now.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. Go ahead.
Yes. In fact, today I was really busy. We are having an AU event over here in Ghana at Du Bois Center. So I just came back from there, and then from there I also went to Cape Coast for AU event. So as you can see, I'm at a beach side. So I just get a little chance and said, no, I have to come. But I've been monitoring everything. It's been very, very beautiful seeing you guys all.
Wonderful. Did you hear? Did you listen to Evelyn? Because that was my question. Did you listen or you muted? Because that was a girl speaking.
Yeah, I couldn't listen to all of the show, but I was able to listen to her a little, small.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. I mean, we love your t-shirts. Everything is just so. Have you been having a nice time? What were you celebrating? Evelyn, just stay here, please. What were you celebrating in Cape Coast and around? What was the celebration? Did it look like too much talk or too much laughter and dance? What?
Well, actually, today is African Union, and over here in Ghana, um, Youth Skill have organized um, AU Celebration Week, and the theme is for we the youth how to unlock our potential. So it's a very beautiful event, and I was one of the guest speaker, and we talk about what can we do as a youth of Africa, because we cannot sit down and be blaming um, our leaders, but it's now a time for us, the youth, to take on the baton, and we have to change the narratives. The future of Africa depends on us, so it is time for us to change the narrative. So it's been very, very beautiful that um, I'm also very happy to be a part of changing the narratives over here in Ghana.
Wonderful. Ghana, you guys are late. I'm happy Evelyn is in Kenya, even though she's from Ghana. You are late out there. Thank you so very much for that support. I mean, I think just from your face, Raymond, it's showing that you really had a good time out there. You enjoyed yourself, and also you
Yeah.
empowered. You know, you get knowledge on what kind of responsibilities we young people, instead of just yama yama yama, our leaders didn't do this. How can you do much better? Can you just can you tell me a little bit just what actually was your key word that you thought the youth must have learned from your presentation?
Come again.
What was the lesson learned? Just give a summary of what you thought that the youth must have learned from your presentation.
Well, actually, now we the youths of Africa, we can make a difference. Um, there are a lot of problems or things that are going on in Africa right now at the moment. Even Ghana right now, our country is in a mess. You know, we are suffering from economic slavery and uh, IMF and all over. But we, the youth of Africa or youth of Ghana, we cannot sit down and fold our arms and just be blaming our elders. But it is time for us to make a difference, to make a change. Um, Thomas Sankara was a youth, but he was able to make a change. Uh, Nelson Mandela, the time he was a youth, he's making a change, and most of our leaders. So it is now time for us, the youth. Sometimes we sit down and said, it is not me, it's the government. We blame the government for everything. But who are the government? We are the government. We cannot just fold our arms and be blaming the president, the ministers, the MPs. Yes, it is true that we put them in power for them to represent us. But if they fail us, that doesn't mean that we will just fold our arms or find a way to leave the country, because if you study right now, the youth of Africa are now leaving the continent because the situation that we find ourselves is chasing us from the continent, like it's chasing us from the continent, because we feel like things are not going over well over here. But if we go to America and go and be a cleaner over there in America, we will get money. That's the mindset right now. So to me, I'm going around telling the youth that no, you don't need to go to America before you can make your money. But then we have a lot of things around us. We have so many ways of so many avenues to make a bit to make a money. We can do, as myself, as I'm here right now. I'm into tourism at the same time too. I'm doing YouTube, and at the end of the day, I make a little bit money out of it, and a lot of things in which we the youth we can engage. A lot of activities, business, we can go into selling, a whole lot of things that we can engage ourselves to. And then we have to change our mindset about blaming the youth, blaming our elders. But then we should take it and put it upon ourselves that it is us. We have to make it right. If things is not going on well in Ghana, I shouldn't blame Nana Akufo-Addo. But then, me, what am I doing? I need to ask myself, what am I doing to make a difference, to change the narratives? Because one day a time will come, Nanado will not be there, and then I may be there, you might be there. So we have to start changing our mindset, thinking positively towards the development of Africa. Those are the things that we need to be doing. But then if I sit down and I see the youth of Africa nowadays, what did they engage themselves into? Football. We don't do any research. We don't know anything about ourselves. We don't do any no business, not at all. We are just, I mean, a lot of people out there, especially the guys, they know what Messi is doing at his house. Like we always follow footballs and all that. That's the only thing that we know. But then, what else can we do to help develop our community, our country, our continent? But we don't do all those things. But we rather blame our leaders a lot. So I think it is now a time for we the youth to stand up and say no to neo-colonialism, and say no to IMF, and say no to European unions, those kind of institutions. It is now a time for us to start making a difference. Let's do something. Let's engage ourselves in activities, in a business, so that these politicians will not come and deceive us. Because when it's time for voting, when it's time for election, what they'll do is they'll just give you a kobo, just a peanut, and then you will be chasing and vote for them. That's how they used to capture us, because they know that we don't have the money. But if we have the money, and if they come to me and give me that peanut, I will not take it. I will vote for the right person. So it is now a time for us, the youth, to start engaging ourselves into business. We have so many business opportunities that we can engage ourselves into, and so that we can start making money and things will go on well for us. So those are the things that we've been going around and preaching the youth that we should involve ourselves in a lot of activities, that at the end of the day, these politicians will not come and deceive us and give us a peanut and for us to follow them.
I like that. That's so powerful. This is just so powerful. I mean, you see, people are like, this is Dr. Nkwame Nkrumah and Ya and Satewa that we are seeing there. The future president, and the president should be Ya Asantewa, and his vice president is going to be the Nkwame Nkrumah that we're seeing. I mean, you guys are, I don't even know how to say how much happy we are. You can see from the chat. We don't even want to go. It's more than 2 hours now, and we are still here. We are still here. So we love you so much. And this power, this energy, if you can carry it like those that are carrying the Bible every day on the stage, on the street, that's the African new Bible, Pan Africanism. carry it everywhere, whether you are in your clubs, whether you are on the fields, whether you are anywhere in the bars. This should be the new message that you are preaching every day. We need to wake up. We need to stand up. We need to stop complaining. I mean, just forget like you don't have leaders and be the leaders that you want to be. Evelyn, do you imagine that? I mean, you are the Queen President. You've already said you don't carry last. You are number one, top, 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 top. You are Dr. Tata, Tata, Tata in three, all the polls. You know, like they gather me, they gather Cheryl, they gather Senovia and package us into one. And you are that bundle of these three big, 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 big queens. You know, so information and education is very necessary. Evelyn, I would like you to tell us about your group and if this group is also integrate the Pan-African Daily, because we're looking for all these representatives. You've heard what your brother said, business. Yes, of course, you're a student. Business is the new language, is the new motto of African, young African. I mean, Ramon, what business are you into? You are into travel and tours, isn't it? Ramon?
Yes.
Just share with Evelyn what your business is all about. The business of drinking water and minding your African business.
Well, actually, what I do, what I do over here is I take people around, most the tourists, and tell them the history of Ghana, and show them beautiful places, and then also encourage them to come back to the continent. Most of the time, after I take them on the tour, and then I tell them the history, then I always end up saying that now that you know, what will you do? Now
Yes.
that you know, what will you do? Do you want to come and visit and go, or what is your mind? What do you have to do? So a lot of them after this, and then they plan to do a business or doing a business over here in the motherland. So last time, me and Evelyn, she is from the northern side, and in the north there is one a basket, Bolga basket, and um, uh, that's where Evelyn come from. So I'm discussing with her how we can do and sell that basket, because a lot of people from the diaspora, they like that kind of basket a lot. And then also we are also trying how to do beat making as well. And then also we would we will, we will, um, we will continue doing our YouTube, shooting videos, showing beauty of Ghana, telling history, showing culture and all those things to the world. So myself, I have a lot of things on the table. So right now, Evelyn is she's in Kenya, she's in school, so it's just like she's not having more time. But then I think we can connect and do more, because there are a lot of things we can do over here.
Wonderful. That's so right. What's your YouTube channel? And we want everybody to go subscribe on your channel, Raymond. What's your YouTube
Yes,
channel?
I do Meso Travel and Tour.
Dumeso Travel and Tour. It's your YouTube channel.
Yes, yes. So
Dumeso. Wait.
Dumeso
Dume,
is like DOMEZOR, Travel and Tour.
wait. Dume. Well, Travel and Tour. All right,
Yes,
guys,
please.
you have that. Dumeso Travel and Tour. You just go check out what our youth is doing out there. And make sure you subscribe to its YouTube channel and share it and share and share. I hope I wrote it right, Zenobia. Dumeso Travel and Tours. Is that correct, Raymond? I
Yes,
just put it in the
yes.
chat.
And then also, if
Wonderful.
anybody who is listening to us he live in the diaspora and he want to come to Africa, and I would advise that person to come to Ghana, because Ghana is a gateway to Africa. So you need to pass through Ghana first before you go to other African countries, because we are the gateway to Africa.
We hear you,
So
Akwaba. We
you need to
hear.
come to the
Okay.
gate.
We're coming to
Akwaba.
you. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so very much. I have my Bolga small vulgar here, and I have about all shapes and
Oh
pattern of the
yes,
vulgars. So
this
we know what
basket
the
I'm
vulgar
talking about.
baskets are all about.
Oh my god, that's so interesting.
This
Wow.
one, I
I
use
see
it
the
like a
women
small
at home
handbag.
making
Okay.
things.
Oh, good. So yes, thank you very much, guys. We're running late into the end of this conversation. We would like to connect with you, like to connect with you more often, and would like to know the projects that you're starting for yourself, the businesses that you're building. Come and tell us more about it. Whether you're building platforms or language to teach tweens and all anything that you want, the new Africa, the Africa that you want to see, whether it's language or fabrics, whatever thing, please empower. Even if you're a student, we have students here that are making money more than normal people. Online businesses now, put your stores, your brands. We don't have any limitations. So I want to thank you so very much for coming. Okay. Raymond, enjoy your Africa Day. I thought it was my computer. I keep like, what is just making some noise like this? Okay, Raymond. So thank you. Good night to you. We just want to
All right.
end up this
Thank you very
conversation.
much.
Thank you. Evelyn, your last word
Thank you.
again. When we will see you immediately after the expo, you'll be my first guest. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Good night to you guys.
Good
All right. Good.
night.
Good night. Good night. Good night. So we see us some other time very soon. Wow. So people, thank you so very much. We would love to stay. We would like to stay a lot, but like I said, exactly in 1 week from today, we are going to be hosting the Germany Pan African Expo, and there's still just a lot to do. I mean, every day people keep calling us, they're coming, and we wonder how we're going to keep them because, like I said, they're not all locations, accommodations are fully booked. Um, our brother from Caribbean, I mean, had to call a couple of times just to look for hotels around. Everything is booked. What we're doing now is try to accommodate ourselves in little families who are taking who, because exactly that's our Africanness. We were not taught when we go places, we go and hang out in hotels. That's typical European thing. You leave your home, you've been staying in your home for alone, and then you come to meet brothers and sisters, and then you look for a place and go and pay and stay alone. Come on. I mean, we have to stop this foolishness, okay? That's not Africanness. So these are the things we are teaching ourselves at the Germany Pan-African Expo. How to live again, how to connect again, how to do things that are just us Africans. That's why we say we drink water and mind our African business. You've been seeing a lot of support through videos. If you want us to share your own video, please just make a short video, encourage your people in Germany and the surroundings and all the diaspora, the communities to join us in Tübingen. But I just think we're having too much capacity now that we cannot even manage. So we're saying a flashback event would follow up after this one. So I want to thank all of you for your support. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I cannot even call our names all here because I need to go get some sleep because I get to get up very early in the morning. You see, my eyes are already falling because there's a lot to do. I'm the queen mother of Imbo, not just the queen mother of Embo, the queen of Pan African Daily, the Africa We Want, the German Expo, and everything. And I am not the one that will sit in that kind of a queen and see people do things. No, I'm very sorry to already announce to most of you that are saying, oh, I look forward to really meet you in person, Dr. Tata. I'm very sorry that I might disappoint you because when you get to the expo ground, probably you won't see us that much because we are busy serving our people. We are busy. We will be busy teaching ourselves. We will be busy actually connecting, networking, make sure that we gather in groups, whatever thing we want to share in these 4 beautiful days. We just want to get the best of each of us. The most important thing, like, how do we share the knowledge? In the past, we used to just gather, celebrate music and dance and drum. This expo is about educating ourselves about us, networking between us, do our businesses between us. I mean, it's open for everybody. But like I said, the focus. So we have forums. We already posting it. We want to start this year with our artifacts. We've been talking about it a lot. And we think that a lot of Africans are still not really getting the point to talk about it a lot because they don't actually know what these artifacts signify to us as African people. So the 4 days forum would be focused on our African artifacts, what they mean to us, the symbols to it, and why do we think that they don't belong here? Because to other people, these are carvings. To us, these are spirit. These are our ancestors. These are the work and the sweat of our people that have been looted and they're making a lot of money out of it. So we want to teach everybody. So we'll be doing groupings and we're going to do a presentation with some of the key artifacts. How do we connect to nature? If you look at the carvings, if you look at the writings on it, if you look at the relationship between the male and the female, how did our ancestors and our great, great thinkers perceive nature? You can see it on all their paintings, whether it's on cloth, whether it's on weaving, whether it's through their carvings, you would see exactly the messages that they used to express themselves. Because at the end of the day, we always think that it's just about only the mindset. But when we look at these artifacts, we still think they're carvings. All right. So the 4 days forum would be educating us on that. And then the presentations from the diasporas and a whole lot, a whole lot. We're going to take the village back. Yes, it takes a village. It takes the whole village, people. And it takes the village girls. All right. So it's really going to be a ceremony after ceremony. It's not going to be like, oh, we will go for vacation. We go for vacation on the continent where we relax, drink. But when we connect in the diaspora, which is an opportunity and the first time for us, the only thing we can do is to teach ourselves how to unite, to love ourselves again. We have to learn everything. You heard the young people say it. The intentions of the founding fathers of the organization of the African Union was that we unite. After we were conquered, after the colonizers came and divided us, like Usman Ture said, at the Berlin 1884 Congress or conference, when they divided us, after all that, they fought for independence and then they reunited again and said, wait a minute, we realize that something is wrong here. An enemy has been in our house. They have stolen, they have killed, they have destroyed, they have looted. They have put us against one another. Now, what do? We need to gather again in the compound under the tree in Addis Ababa and think of the damage that has been done to us and recognize that we are one and we begin to mind our business and come together. Now, the question for us that I'm leaving with us, is it different from today? It's not different from today. So this 2023 is the same thing like it happened in 1963 remember the figure 3. We have seen that we have been scattered. We've been lied to. We've been torn apart. Lies have been spoken about us. This is the time that we are going to meet like they met in Addis Ababa and remind ourselves of the fact that we are one worldwide. So this day is very memorable. We see people give speeches and they just commemorate the fact that I haven't heard anybody said we are back at that table in Addis Ababa this year. This is the beginning of what happened in the past, and they sat. That was the first one. Now, this is the second conclave. After dividing us, murdering us, killing us, the enemy has always been anywhere. Now, we are just thinking like our forefathers did and say, wait a minute, something went wrong. Something happened to us. I don't even know you again. Why are we even fighting? They stole from us. Our children, our girls, our men, they captured them. What should we do? Now that we have fought for our independence, we need to come back together as one. I think that is the message for today. We have listened to our young people, but I'm just coming to remind us again, like, this is a new beginning. This day reminds us of that same day that they met in Addis Ababa, 6 to 3. And the number 3 is coming again. Means what? We are gathering again, like they did, to say we will never be part of a divided Africa, divided families, divided children, divided nations, divided educational system, divided language system. Now, they talked about money. And I was just asking myself, we have the Nigerian naira. We also have the Ethiopian lira. Why don't we even adopt one of the ones that are already existing for the whole continent, just like we're talking about Swahili? Why must we create something new? Why don't we just adopt the currency that Ethiopia has for itself? So we have a lot. We are not lacking anything. We just need to come together, unite ourselves together. And I commend this day and I recommend this day. And we seal this day that this is going to be the day we shall never forget. But we will not be thinking about the historical day. We are going to be thinking of this moment when our young people gathered on the Pan African Daily TV and reminded us of the objectives that we once agreed to keep on. Because we are not different. We are just a reincarnation of each and every one of them. So, but our young children came here, our kids, our youth, most of us will birth them, will create them, okay? They only came to remind us, and you heard them keep saying, we have to love one another. We have to mind our business. We have to do business about ourselves. We have to own the continent. We have to do, if you go back to this video of today and just listen to this conversation from our young people, you know that they are telling us it is time. Like in 1963, so in 2023, we are meeting here to remind ourselves that what happened to us should never, ever happen to us again. We say Bayete. The Queen of Embo says Bayete. We say Ashe. It will never happen to us again. So this meeting that we'll be meeting in Germany, because it was in Germany that they divided us. And we had said it, we are going to meet in Germany. All of us in different shades meet there and put out that celebration and say, so in 1884, no more. This is 2023. We are starting to teach the world what is love, what is peace, what is unity, because this responsibility was given to us. So I want to thank you very much. I want to congratulate you. I would be, and I forgot, I would be featuring on Amos Onyango's show on Saturday. I wish to share that link with you if I will have time. It has not been in vain, my people. It has not been in vain. The 1,000 years had not been in vain. They never conquered our ancestors. They met again and they united. It is our own conclave. They never conquered us. We are going to meet and set the rules, how we want to stick by them, and we respect them. And this time, there will be our own rules. Okay? And if somebody wants to join us on the table, they are pretty much welcome. But now it's going to be as how we want it and the way we want the world to go. And that's how the world is going to stay. Peace, love, and unity. Okay? Only goodness, only good energy, only good vision, only good intentions. Okay? The spirit of oneness will continue to tie us. The spirit of oneness will continue to keep us. The spirit of our great, great, massive creators, all in totality with the universe, would continue to keep us as one. No matter upon the falls, how many times we fall, we would rise and rise and rise again. So the great moment is now. The great time is now. The special time is now. We should forget about counting and licking our wounds. The wounds are dried. Our wounds are dried. We're the ones licking and wetting them again. No, we have to pick on, we have to dance, we have to celebrate, we have to acclaim and proclaim. And we are looking to read out a speech on that day to say, it was not a coincidence that we started this celebration. And exactly on this day, we're going to start the 4 days pilgrimage of the unity of the African people worldwide. I thank you so much. Asante sana. Karibu. Mambo pia. Tuko pamoja. I greet all of you. And I wish you all blessed night. Sleep sweet. Thank you so very much. Okay, for your attention. So we are going to see ourselves. Probably we're going to be busy. I just want to tell us that we're going to be busy in the fall. I mean, starting already, the construction days start on Monday, but we have been all through it. All right. And after that, we will need a couple of 4 days or a week again to deconstruct, to relax, to hand over all infrastructures and make sure that everyone comes home safely. And then we drink water and mind our African business. And then we will see us again. And that's when we'll start our journey again on the Pan-African Daily on a new footing, unity and nothing less but unity. We're not settling for anything than our unity, nothing less than that. You join us or you leave us, we are together forever. Okay? So thank you so very much for your attention. Thanks to the young people. Make sure you would be sharing this video. I know it's long, it's almost 2.5 hours, but it is rich in content. Let us open this day and we consider it the declaration of the organization of the African Liberation Day 2023. So I thank you so very much again. And you know how difficult it is for us to go. How difficult it is for us to separate here. Okay, people, we see us and bless us. Think about us, those that will not be. Know that we are one spirit. Pray for us a lot. Okay. Even if it's going to rain, we're going to dance and celebrate in the rains. There's nothing wrong with the rains. People keep asking, oh, the weather. We say, no. We created weather. We created everything. Weather is part of us. Rain is part of the co-creation, the totality of the universe. Just like the sun. All these elements is what Professor James say we are all the gods. Okay. So when the rain wants to celebrate with us, he's welcome. All right. When the sun wants to dance with us, she is welcome. It is part of the universe and the totality. But we've been taught, oh, rain, all this weather, all this. No, it's part of the whole process. Without it, we will not function. Thank you very much and good night to all of us. Bye-bye. Happy Africa Liberation Day.
You are watching the Pan-African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tatah. The Africa we want. Unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherland's calling its diaspora home. Join my voice. Join my team. Join my campaign. Campaign 21 hashtag 1 million subscribers on the Pan-African Daily TV YouTube. Be a volunteer. Apply now. Be the new Africa.